unexpected water feature in the fire pit area. Yep, that's not supposed to be like that. There should be a drainage hole in the middle here somewhere. There we go, I can hear it. There's a little hole there. Interesting how easily that got bunged up. It'll probably just get bunged up again. Fire pit's having a wee. Anyway. Did I already say? Probably not. It's 1:45 on Sunday the 16th of November. And I'm a few weeks behind in doing videos. I have taken footage when I come down here, but haven't really had the time or energy to do anything with them. Work's been busy and all that. Plus, there's other things that need doing in life than making videos about our allotment. But, I don't know, we'll see. I probably will do one and try to splice some things together. As you can see, things are entering a winter dormancy. The whole site is opening up in a way, especially as the big hedge to that side, which is approximately, I guess, oh, I get my directions right, southwest-ish, but yeah, so that's makes the whole place feel more wide and open. Opens up the vast fenland skies. Our tomatillos are just sticks now. Interesting, these padrons are just keeping going on. This heap over here is beans in there somewhere, which are drying out really. They're dead now. Interesting, whilst the beans have died back entirely, this achocha is still trying. Must be a little bit more cold tolerant than the beans, but I don't think we'll get anything out of that. Cape Gooseberry is cruising along. We've not had our first frost yet, obviously, otherwise all of this would be gone. Last weekend footage, I did, Kat and I both did the big potato harvest. Maybe I'll splice a bit of that in right after this here. Oh, where'd that garlic come from? That's weird. So after we planted the potatoes, we planted some garlic. I'm not quite sure why a bulb set on top like that. There is garlic planted in this bed, and there is garlic planted in this bed. I'm a little concerned that something has yoinked that garlic out of the ground. That's a worry. Looks like there's a little hole just there, and you can see there's a garlic popped up there, and there's another one popped up just there, and the birds do like to pull them off, so I think we might need to put a net over this. Looks like something's being digging here. You can see this cracking in the ground. That's not a happy thing. Yeah, fighting the wildlife as usual in the allotment. And I'm a bit worried that this looks like it's garlic tips that have been nipped off. Nah, that's just a bit of leaf. Okay. But yeah, so, concerns. I'd say that garlic is one we planted that has been pulled out of the ground by a bird. So, these things happen. And I guess we'll try and see if there's one in the, there's sort of like a hint of a hole next to it in that row. You can see the little garlic at the end of my fingertip. So I think that might have come out of that spot there. Fun. So otherwise in the garlic world, obviously we pulled all the potatoes out of here and planted garlic in here too. I wouldn't expect to see anything coming up yet. Once the frost hits, all these nasturtiums will be gone. Here's the two spots we cleared last weekend. That will be for more garlic. So a patch of garlic here and a patch of garlic there. Some of this stuff here is staying, I guess. We aren't sure about these celeriacs. They have not bulbed up, but there might be enough down there to do something with if we harvest a bunch of them. It looks like something has sat in the radishes there. Fun. Yeah, things are sort of cruising along. Our primary purpose down here today is to harvest chilies from the greenhouse and tomatoes from the polytunnel. As you can see, we still have fruit ripening in here. It's going to be too cold for this soon. We probably should have pulled them out already to start on getting things like garlic in here, but that hasn't happened yet. Chilies to harvest here as well. Side beds to clear out, and again we'll put garlic all the way down the sides of the polytunnel as we did last season. That worked quite well, and 2 rows of garlic up the middle of each bed as well. We have some winter greens to put in the sides, but we'll see what happens. We have them growing as seedlings, but they're a bit small, so I'm not quite sure how they're going to go. But yeah, plenty to do to prep in here. Not happening today. Today is going to be about harvesting only. Yep, so better crack on with that. The pear trees look quite cool. Naked. Anyway. We'll see. I've got some other footage which maybe comes in after this, or maybe I'll do multiple videos. I don't think so. Maybe this will never even be a video. Anyway, have some warm coffee, and let's get cracking. So yeah, that garlic definitely came from a hole here, which is right between a garlic popping up there and a garlic popping up there. Now weirdly, in the hole, I found this, which is obviously not going to amount to anything. The question is, has something ripped out the garlic and buried a bean seed in the hole? Does that happen? It's so strange. Squirrels are known for burying things. We never see a squirrel on these plots. I don't think I've ever seen a squirrel on the allotment site, but that's possible. I don't know if rats are known for stashing things in holes, and maybe a bird dug a thing up, made a hole, and something else came and put the bean in there. Hell knows. Very strange. We inherited this net from the new plot, some sort of sport-related item. You can see there's a brand there. Nets for everyday sport. We're going to use it as a fruit cage net probably, but what we're doing with it today, we've dragged it out here because I want to try and drape it a bit over the garlic beds to prevent the birds getting in and pulling up the little garlics. So we're going to fold this a bit and work out a way to deploy it over those garlic beds. Well, we took the big old sport net that we inherited with this plot down to the back and straightened it out and folded it and rolled it, and now we've got some slightly janky but hopefully sufficient temporary netting over those garlics. They only need long enough to get their root set in and put up a proper shoot. Then the birds will leave them alone. So it's just a temporary setup that. So over in the polytunnel, time to harvest tomatoes. Got some good chonkers have grown in here, looking good. And we even have some windfall. It was a bit breezy the last few days with Storm Claudia, or Storm Claudia. I think most people on the news were pronouncing it Claudia. It's gone a bit rotten on the vine. But like I said, at some point I think we're expecting 0 degrees tomorrow, so we may be seeing our first frost soon. Could be tomorrow, but 0 is probably going to knock a lot of things out. So we're going to get what we can out of here, and not having time to properly sort of clear or plant anything, but that's going to be a big start, is starting to clear out the fruit. Okay, it is 10 past 3 p.m. and done a bit more than really intended. As you can see, the 2 side beds here are pretty much cleared out. That's the eggplants and the capsicums pulled out, and the big chili plant that was there is gone. Still a little chili plant there, but we're getting low in temperatures. I just checked the temperature recorder in here. We've got a little inkbird thing over there, and we've had down to 2.45 in here according to that. I stripped most of the green tomatoes off, including any that were semi-ripe. So what have we got going on? Behind me, we've got the chili plants in this wheelbarrow. That's the Thunder Mountain Longhorn, the long squiggly ones, and the Kashmiri Merch. Over here, green capsicums galore, green tomatoes. We're going to have some fried green tomatoes, but a lot of these will ripen up. As you can see, some of them actually have some colour, so they're not quite green. So there's a good chance of success ripening them before they go manky. And then the more ripe tomatoes. Something's had a go at that one, obviously. Green chilies and stuff. Well, I think that some of them might be beaver dam chilies. Some of them are probably just plain capsicums. With all this green capsicum, I think it's definitely going to be big batch of gumbo time. That's the main thing we make with green capsicum. And a few green cherry tomatoes down there, with some bonus dill seeds. So yeah, that's the polytunnel basically cleared, aside from getting rid of the rest of the foliage, which we won't be doing today. I've got to do some work with the compost, really, because we've got nowhere to put stuff. So if I wander out to the greenhouse, where Kat has cleared the chilies, plus me a bit. Kat started out there when I was finishing the polytunnel. I moved on to the chilies to help Kat. So yeah, our compost bay here is a bit full. We could squeeze more in there, but the wood's getting in the way. We've got a bit of a problem here, really. We need to clear this plastic junk out of this bay, and this is hopefully decent compost in there, which we can then sort of sieve across into this middle bay, and then we can start building a new compost bay there. And the idea is basically that then that will start to ferment and do its thing. This one continues to ferment, it's doing its thing, and then next spring or so we turn them both into the middle. That's the theory anyway. So obviously we've got all this chili material here, and as you'll spot, the greenhouse is looking a bit different. Big old clear out. I just decided it was time to do it. We've got 0 degrees predicted. I don't think many of these plants are going to do much more for us. I felt like the poor little fig probably needed some air. It was really crowded in there. And also this grape in the corner. So these were a couple of, what were they called? Sorry about the cough. A couple of pubescens plants, rocotos, that's what they are, sort of apple round fruit. I'll show you the fruit in a moment. And holes in the ground. That was the Primo, 7-pot Primo, and that was the Nagamorich. So yeah, a bit of a clear out in here. And here's our chili haul. Not fantastic, really, considering the amount of plants we've got, but it's something. This is not the whole haul. Obviously, we've harvested chilies over the last few weeks. So this is, what do we got here? Right, so this is the Tangerine Tiger. It's supposed to be stripy, but mostly hasn't been for some reason this year. Sugar Rush Stripies, they pickle nicely, otherwise not much use. Yucky Blue, they're actually quite hot, but not super, super hot, and have a nice flavour. Trinidad Perfume, nice habanero-like flavour with no spice. Bit weird, probably won't bother again, because I like my spice. And this is what I was talking about. This is the rocotos. They make these beautiful little apple-shaped fruit, but they need a long season to grow and ripen. When they ripe, they stuff beautifully. So we've had that whole tray of stuffed rocotos one year. It was a fantastic thing. So we just need to be earlier, as always. The Nagamorich, something has really been loving them, and there's quite a few with holes in them, but most of these have no holes. Obviously a few greens, a few oranges, and a few nice red ones. And what we're probably going to do is do a fermented hot sauce with the Nagas, the Trinidads, and the Yucky Blues, because they have that similar kind of Naga flavour. And then this is the unknown variety. They'll make a nice thing, like a red hot sauce. Bishop's Crowns, they dry nicely. Orange drops is what they are. Not quite sure what these are. Oh, I think they're just some more Nagas. Sorry, I've been chewing on a chili and it's going down the wrong way. Madravijas, we like them. We'll probably combine them this year with the orange drops to make an orange sauce, which is really tasty with ginger and turmeric. Aji mangoes, we don't have many of these this year. We'll dry them, and we like the ahi mango powder. Not sure how much we'll get. And we're back around to where I started. Okay, so let's have a ponder outside. And Kat has cleared off a bunch more of these rocotos that aren't ripe. Do we have a ripe rocoto? I'll go have a look. These are very stunted looking, what do you call them? Padrons, very stunted looking padrons. And we've kept some of these things, like these Yucky Blues, on the stems. And there's some other bits down there. We're going to try hanging them, because they can ripen a bit on the stem, but we'll see. So yeah, that's where we're up to in the greenhouse and the chilies and the harvest. And These are ripe ricotas. They were right in the middle staring at me. So we only ended up with 2. Out of the 2 plants, we had an orange, I think, and a red. We've only had 2 ripe fruit. And they're tiny little things. We're not going to be stuffing much into them. I think these will actually go quite nicely with the gumbo, actually, because we like our gumbo spicy. So I think the ricotas are basically like really fleshy little capsicums. So that will go nicely as a green capsicum. And then if I wander out, the last thing I'll show you today is I've potted up these plants. Here we go. That is the 7-pot Primo near me. Kept a little bit of foliage on there for now, and we'll try to keep them good. And this is the Nagamorich. And I do most years try to do some overwintering of chilies, and it's a mixed success. I'm only going to bother from now on for something that's particularly valuable or interesting, and that'll leave it at that. So yeah, have a little wander around. I think I've discussed most things we've done today, yeah, change of guard in the polytunnel. As I said earlier, I'm not quite sure what we'll get done in the polytunnel this year over winter. Our leaf crops are a bit stingy, but definitely the garlic. Anyway, now we've got to get all this stuff into the car. Fun times. And finally, at about 20 to 4, we have a late glitter kitten showing. Full of biscuits now. I have done one last thing, which is clear out all the New Zealand spinach which was down there, and shove it in the back of the Volvo, which now looks like a little rainforest on wheels. All that produce has been shoved in there, and those 2 chilli plants, and there's the big pile of New Zealand spinach next to the passenger door there. So yeah, now I think that'll be us signing off for the day. Moldy. Oh boy, that's 2 weeks of work. Espresso machine, coffee grounds. I managed to not get them sorted out last weekend, so that was a full bin. Usually it's about half that and not quite as mouldy, though the stuff does tend to get mouldy very quickly. I've just popped down to the allotment at whatever the time is right now. It's approaching 4 PM, I think, on Sunday. What are we? Something like the 23rd or 24th of March. I should know these things, but I always forget to look them up. Not much going on down here this weekend. I'm not feeling 100%. It's been a funny old weekend. I've been very low energy and possibly a bit of a cough. Oh yep, look. Garlic's popping up. Now, big question here is, will the birds start yoinking these out? I can't see any yoinked out obviously yet, but it is a danger. Maybe they'll stay away from the side of the polytunnel. Eventually the plan for this polytunnel is to actually have guttering along here, and once we've got something like that there, we could actually hang a net down from it, which would be an idea to protect things like this when they need protecting. Not much to do today. It's nearly the end of the day, obviously. I'm just going to pop 6 garlics in, but they're 6 unusual garlics, and I'm going to put them down here, sort of this side of the asparagus bed. And why I say they're unusual is they're these monobulbs. They're all wanting to grow. It's a bit sideways. Oh, I've just broken it off, I think. Oh no. Hopefully they'll be okay. We'll see. So I'm going to plant them in the ground here, just 1 row, and see what happens with them. They're from last year's polytunnel wonky white garlic, I think. We shall see. So I'm going to bung them in the ground right now, across here, and that will be at least one thing achieved on the allotment this weekend, which is better than none things. We shall see. There's parsnips there are looking a bit flattened down. Not quite sure what's going on in that. I came here the other night and this had been flipped that way. I'm not sure if it was the wind or human activity. It just seems like the leaves have been picked off, but I'm not sure. I actually think it was probably just the wind and the leaves are just falling off, and that's the way the kale's growing. We actually haven't used any of that kale yet. That was leaning quite badly there. I need to stake it up potentially. We have to have it covered because if we don't cover it, the pigeons will decimate it almost immediately. Anyway, let's get this garlic in before it gets dark. And there they are, positioned so that their little shoots will be just at the ground surface for now, or just under it. And I put the one with the wonky, possibly broken top here. So we'll see if that one on the right hand side there grows. Okay, cover them up. I'm not going to bother watering them or anything. The ground here is quite damp already and we've got more rain to come. So yeah, something's planted. Be interesting to see how they go with those massive monobulbs. Yeah, so garlic coming up over there. And as per last weekend's video, garlic is coming up over here where we've netted it. These are probably going to get rolled into one sort of video. That net's fallen down, but I think it's going to do the job of keeping the birds off it for the most part. I might tighten it up a bit so it comes up a little bit off the ground. And the netting's only needed until the garlic has more firmly rooted itself into the ground and no longer looks like little worm heads poking above the ground. Okay. Anyway, that's all we're That's all we're going to get done for this weekend. Oh, I can hear a pheasant. Oh, we missed him. That pheasant was a cock pheasant and it just landed in the field over there, taunting us. He'd be good for dinner. Anyway, that's enough of that. Good fun. Just as I was rounding up and coming up the back to collect my coffee ground bin, I noticed this crap has blown down into the ditch. That is going to be a job to deal with another day though. Ay. The whole back area of this plot here is a total mess still. So that's quite a job to do. Maybe we'll slowly chip away at that over the winter. We'll see. It'll depend on what weather and energy levels bring us. Righty, okay. That's us, or me, really done. I let Kat stay home in the warmth-ish of the house rather than gallivant around the cold, dark plot. Okay. Off we go. Packing it away for another week. Oh, get it right, Yvonne, get it right. The whole gate arrangement here is obviously in need of some further work. This one's not even a gate yet, it's just a pallet. This one I hung a bit low and it's starting to scrape on the ground, so it needs jacking up a little bit. I should leave a bigger gap at the bottom, really. Anyway, off we go. Home again, jiggity jig.
You're gonna video, are you?
Yeah, videoing now. Oh well, yeah, snow beans are out of our little dwarf beans here. And the frost has done them in, unsurprisingly. As you can see from the glare, there's a good bit of sun out today. Kat is clearing this bed because we're going to put Longor shallots in there. Meanwhile, the garlics are coming up pretty well in this bed for the most part. Some are slower than others, clearly. This long bed of garlic here is doing really well. See lots of little garlics in there. We don't seem to have any birds trying to pull them up yet, so that's always good. And we'll probably plant some garlics in those two spots there. But yeah, it's about 13:30 I think 1:30 on the 30th of November. So that is the end of November. Poor little marigold's going to be in for a hard time. I don't think that'll survive the winter. But there are billions of marigold seeds in these beds. So we'll get plenty next year as well. As you can see, the last ones of this year are still flowering. They do just keep on going until it's all over. So it's about 14.5 degrees in here at the moment, so that's good. But it's time to clear all this. And we'll get all of these tomato vines out and start putting in our polytunnel garlic. Maybe we'll get to that today. Though, given the time of year, it'll be getting dark by about before 4 p.m. really. So we'll see where we get to. Yeah, we'll get some clearing done in here. Bit of a late start, although that's not unusual for us. And I was quite unwell last week and kind of still recovering with a messed up sleep pattern and some existing or some lingering exhaustion. Anyway, polytunnel clearance is probably job one for me. While Kat clears that bed outside and gets some Longhorn shallots in. Now, that will be the primary Longhorn shallot bed, I think, because it gets the most exposure, as in it gets the most sunshine. We did, with some success, grow some Longhorn shallots in this bed. It's asparagus bed, we call it back here. That's got the asparagus rescued from the new plot next to us. It's not dead. It'll be interesting to see if it establishes and does something useful. We don't know. But yeah, so we had shallots in here last year with the asparaguses in 3 rows. The front set of asparagus didn't really seem to do very well. I must have planted the healthier crowns at the back, I guess. If it does a thing, it does a thing. That artichoke that we rescued from the other plot, I assumed had dried out and died, but that is coming back gangbusters right now. So that's cool. And then what else? Sunshine. Back into the sunshine. In the greenhouse, we have 16.8 degrees. I don't know if you can see that in this terrible lighting, but yeah. And there is still some ripening going on in here. So we've got some madravesias we can harvest in there. And even some ahi mangoes have ripened down here. So yeah, it's not quite over for the chilies yet, interestingly. But anyway, I guess I will crack on with what I was planning to do with the greenhouse. Sorry, with the polytunnel there. Last weekend was a bit of a non-event, as per probably some video that'll be just before this video. I came down briefly, planted 6 garlic bulbs, and that was it. I was already flagging with the start of that cold happening by then. Can't remember if I'd realised it yet or not, but it really hit me hard and knocked me out. I mean, I was immobile on Monday. Anyway, let's get stuff done. Might even set something on fire if I can. Though everything's so damp, that probably won't happen. Well, Glitter Kitten has graced us with its presence. It demanded biscuits, and as usual hoed into them so fast it ended up with half the biscuits poured on its head. Anyway, that's the Longhorn shallot bed. That was the dwarf bean bed of little fruition. Well, 0 fruition. They are spaced 20 centimetres apart that way, and 25 centimetres apart that way. It was going to be 30, but then I realised I'd fit exactly this. The 30 didn't really fit nicely in the bed, whereas this fits nicely in the bed. That's part of the desire, is to have it a nice even spread in the space we've got. This is 2 whole packets of the Longhorn shallots that we got from King Seeds, and that was 2 500-gram packets. They're pretty decent sized bulbs. Sometimes you buy these seed shallots, like the first ones we got were tiny years ago. These ones are quite chunky, and I don't really know whether it goes one way or the other, sort of in terms of yield for that. We do have some of our own we could plant, so we could. This is basically all of the bought seed shallot now, pretty much, which leaves us none for the asparagus bed I mentioned up the back, which is behind the polytunnel there, which gets a lot more shade than this bed. So this will be the better bed for growing them in. we may get some of our own shallot harvest and plant them up the back, and thus extend the amount of shallots we have. Anyway, polytunnel clearance time whilst Cat buries these up to their necks in the sand, dirt, whatever you want to call it. Well, actually just up to the tufts of their hair, so their faces, if you think of them as little people, will be below the dirt. I don't know why I think of them that way. Anyway, right. So this is today's named garlic to be planted in the raised beds. Kingsland White and Rose White. Pretty good bulbs from the Rose White there. These are from King's Seeds. Pretty disappointed in what we've been sent for Kingsland White, to be honest. They even feel a bit wool, sort of. That's not the best. That's kind of... So yeah, that's quite disappointing that someone sent us that, especially alongside that. And we know that the Kingsland is quite capable of being like that. Bottom of the bucket, maybe? Now, anyway, we'll plant them and see what we get. And that's what we have after breaking those two pairs of bulbs up. Heads, rather. As is unsurprising. Bit of a disappointing showing from the Kingsland White there. 4 rows. I mean, I wouldn't normally be bothering to plant anything as small as that. You know, that's pretty tiny compared to my index finger there. Maybe slightly bigger one there. Let's go. So there's just 4 left over there. But yeah, 4 rows of 6. We'll see. We'll plant them as they're laid out here, so we'll get an idea of maybe the larger cloves through to the smaller cloves as far as the yields from the bulbs go. Much better showing from the Rose White, unsurprisingly. From the sides of the bulbs, there's a bit more swelling in the smaller ones. So I've got 5. I'll do a row of 5. Now normal row length is 6, so we've got 4 rows of 6 of all decent size cloves, and then a final row of 5 with slightly runtier cloves. So the runty cloves of the rows are nothing like the runty cloves of the Kingsland. A couple of dud bulbs in the Rose White and 1 dud bulb in the Kingsland. And these will be going into the raised beds next to the asparagus and the rhubarb. So that's down the ends of these beds here. And I'll probably put the Kingsland White here because that's a smaller space. There are those monobulbs I planted last weekend in a row there. So there's enough space for the 4 rows of Kingsland there, and there's enough space for the 5 or so rows of Rose White here. Look, something's been digging. I think that's the entrance to a burrow. And that's always going to be a problem with these beds. We just seem to have creatures living under them. You can see that's a proper little hole down there. Oh well, that's just one of these things we've got to live with. Okay, these spots are now planted out with garlics. Didn't quite fit as many in as originally hoped. These beds are a little bit on the narrower side, 110 rather than 120 centimetres. So we've done rows of 5 instead of 6. And we have Rose Whites in up to that stake there. And then we have 2 rows of the wonky white eating garlic plus 1. Over on this side we have 4 rows of 5 of those little Kingslands. Ran out of space, but on a plus side I guess that means I don't have to plant these ridiculously tiny ones. And then there is actually that row I planted last weekend of the big fat monobulbs in there as well. So we'll see how they go. I have a feeling the Rose is the one that has always worked best for us, not the Kingsland, but we'll see how that goes. Probably went a bit close to the rhubarb there, but if we put up a bit of a fence to keep the rhubarb off as it grows in the spring, hopefully they'll give the garlic in there enough of a chance. And the sun is from behind where I was standing direction, so they should get enough sunshine. Well, it's 25 past 4-ish, and it's getting properly dark now. It'll look much brighter on the camera than it looks to me. That's the bed of Longhorse shallots there, insufficiently protected. Some birds will tend to pull them out. We've had that happen before, but that's the net we've got. That'll have to do for now. And Cat has done some tidying over here. This is where the gherkin frame was, and that is now a fence over there, which will help to fend off the rhubarb from overgrowing the garlic area. So that's our garlic there, as I already covered in an earlier video, so I won't go into any more detail about that. And then my primary other job today has been clearing out the polytunnel. Pretty good progress, not as far as I would have liked to have got on this, but as you can see, the tomatoes are gone. So that's all the tomatoes pulled out. Well, not pulled out actually, we trimmed them off close to the ground. There's some final fruit down there, not sure how much use that will be, but especially this time of year it starts to get quite dry, so those fruits are quite light weighted. But yeah, these beds need some more work to clear them out, to pull out some weeds and stuff, but we'll have to do that when it's a bit more light, and all of the tomato cables are now packed back away down the ends. These are really starting to come apart now. They must be in their, what, 4th year of use, maybe 3rd or 4th, and they're disintegrating from UV exposure, I expect. But oh well. The final layer has gone up on our active compost bay, so that's just been screwed in place there, and all that tomato material and some other bits and pieces is now in that compost bin. But yeah, that's us done for this Sunday evening trip. Nice clear skies, quite a chill to the air. I don't know what the temperatures are outside right now, but it was 7 degrees earlier when we drove down here. In my greenhouse right now, it's 5.3, which means it's probably below 4 out here. But yeah, it's been a nice little day to get some stuff done down here. Now it's time to head home, and I think we're going to be having a cheese toasty dinner. It's purring. It's having fun times. Oh, I got your tail. Got your tail.